Hello, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate Rural Talk Radio Network, a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. And our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. The views of the guest may not represent those of the host of the station. Folks, I get excited every time I do a show. And why I get excited is because one of the reasons why I do this show is to provide you with resources that I sure wish were available to me when I was caregiving for Matt. And not just provide you all with resources, but to expand your minds and learn about history and other topics that can help you. And that's what I'm here for. And I have an exceptional guest with me today. This is, I think, Debbie's third time on my show. I have with me Debbie Compton. And if you look on Amazon, Debbie goes by Debbie DeMoss Compton. She is a 3-time caregiver, folks, to her mom, her dad, and her mother-in-law. She is a certified PAC caregiving consultant and an advocate community educator for the Alzheimer's Association, CEO and founder of the Purple Vine, LLC, and she's also an author and writer of a couple of books, and she's got a new one that she is part of in a chapter. And the link to the Debbie's page will be in the blog. And Debbie's going to talk about this book, The Caregiver's Advocate, a complete guide to support and resources. And Debbie's chapter is called Caregiver Burnout. That's real, folks. Trust me, that is real. And the book is coming out July 2nd. So by the time you hear this, the book will be out. And I had to give a plug to Debbie because I had to tell you this little story, folks. My friend, I recommended Debbie to my friend whose mom has Alzheimer's, and my friend loved Debbie. She said, "Thank you, Betsy, for recommending Debbie Compton." And I had to say this. If I was looking for someone to coach me, to counsel me about caregiving, I want someone who's walked through the same waters, who has navigated the course, and who knows not just from book knowledge, but from the heart what it's like to be a caregiver. And friends, audience, let me tell you, Debbie Compton knows. She knows what she's talking about. And I want to welcome Debbie Compton to Chatting with Betsy. Welcome, Debbie.
Oh, Betsy, you're so kind. My goodness, high praise. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I love coming
welcome.
on your show because I love what you stand for. I love how much actionable information you share for caregivers, and because you just keep it real, and that's what I'm all about too. So I think that's why we resonate so well.
Yes, that's for sure. I mean, caregiver burnout is real, and I have to say this on a personal level. Caregiver burnout for me led me to caregiver post-traumatic stress disorder. You might call it moral injury disorder, whatever you want to call it. It's now coming out that caregivers have post-traumatic stress afterwards. So to prevent that, it's, I think, great to prevent caregiver burnout, which is so understandable of how it happens because you're going 24/7. Sometimes a lot of breaks.
Absolutely, with no rest, no downtime. Even when you have a chance to go to sleep, you lay down and then you can't turn off your brain and you're listening for, are they up, are they into something, or you're thinking about all the things that you coulda, woulda, shoulda done, and the things. It's so hard to get rest. And I got to say, too, I mean, when I experienced caregiver burnout, I didn't even know it was a thing. I had no idea. And so I knew right away that this was something I wanted to write about. And so when Laura DeFranco of Brave Healer Productions reached out to me and asked author on a collaboration book, I was excited because, as you know, all the other books that I've done 9 books previously, but they've all been by myself. And I love collaboration. So I was super excited about it, and I started right away to jot down a list of people who I thought might want to participate in the project and that would have valuable, actionable, useful information for caregivers, because I didn't want the fluff. You know what I mean? There's people out there that
Right.
just talk theory and that talk about, well, this is what I learned in school. And I agree with training. I have training too. It's a great thing. But I learned so much more by doing and so much more by being in the trenches. And so that's what I wanted for this book. And I'm so excited too to say that we have an international cast. I've got a person from Israel. I've got people from Canada. I've got people from the UK and people from the US. And in saying that, I'm pretty sure that you have interviewed a number of the authors that I chose.
Yes, and that's why, folks, without even, I have to be honest, I didn't look at this book. I mean, I didn't read it. It's not out yet. I would go out and I would, if there's a pre-order way, I would do that, because I interviewed Alexis Baker not too long ago, maybe I think in April, about music therapy. I interviewed Rena Yutkowski last year about memory and ways that you can remember, which I have used to help me remember names.
Me too.
And of course you, Debbie, and I'm going to interview Dr. Carol Sargent in September. And that's why, folks, you have to subscribe. Chatting with Betsy, what you waiting for? It's for free.
Exactly. Because, and Dr. Carol is in the UK. So
yes.
She talks in the book about travel and things too. And so I had each person talk about their specialty. So Rena writes a chapter on improving your memory, and she's so great at giving you wonderful little tools that you can use right away. And then Alexis is just so sweet and has a beautiful voice, and teaches about the singing, because it's more than just putting a song on. And she has classes even that they go through, and online classes that you can join to where she will work with your loved one and bring therapy. And music therapy really works too. So anyway, I could go on and on. I'm sorry. But
no, don't be sorry. It's true, folks. Look it up. Alexis was, I think, in April. I'm going to say April. So, that's why you need to subscribe, because you don't know who I'm going to have on. Yep. And I'm on Apple, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music. And this is, we had a great interview. These are people that have experience, qualified people that know what they're talking about. And let me tell you, I wish there was a book like this 24 years ago. I wish there was a book when my mother-in-law started, even 14 years ago, with Matt, with early onset. And I find, Debbie, and you probably have found this too, that those of us, I'm not a, consultant, but those of you who do consult, who do work in this field, a lot of you got into it because of necessity, because there was no resources.
Yes. Exactly. That's exactly right, because I couldn't find the help that I needed. I had never even known anyone who had Parkinson's before Dad got it. I had no idea what to do when he started hallucinating. And when my mother-in-law started having delusions with her Alzheimer's, I didn't know what to do there either. And so I've learned so much through the journey. And by the way, there's more to it than don't argue with them, but live in their reality. Don't try to convince them of your reality. And a delusion is real to the person who is having it. They see, hear, and believe it. They can actually see it in their mind. So you're not going to convince them that it's not real. And why would you want to? Because then when you argue with them, you're causing stress. And stress makes all of those diseases, which are all forms of dementia, stress makes it progress faster. So don't argue. Who cares? They say the sky is pink. Yeah, it's a beautiful shade, isn't it? They say,
yes.
Do you see this lovely little dog dancing? Yes, isn't he cute? Make their life easier, not more difficult.
Debbie, that's words of golden wisdom, because I can say to the audience firsthand that education makes such a big difference in the quality of what care you're going to give to your loved one and in your loved one's life. There is such a big difference, folks. I'm telling you, from when my mother-in-law was diagnosed, I didn't know about hallucinations. I didn't know about sundowning. I didn't know about Alzheimer's, and I was a nurse, okay? I never heard the word. It was called different things back in the 70s because I'm a middle-aged lady. But, you know, when yes, organic brain syndrome. And when my mother-in-law accused me of stealing, I just thought she was being a witch, and I would yell at her. And unknown to me, she was telling everybody I was stealing from her. I didn't know that until later. But I did not know the change of behaviors and how to handle the behaviors. Believe me, I wish there was information 24 years ago. Do I feel bad that I didn't handle it right? Yeah, I do, but I didn't have information. There wasn't any at that time. Now, fast forward to Matt.
And that's what
I was equipped.
Well, I'm sorry. Exactly,
okay.
and that's what I was going to say, because you do the best you can with the knowledge that you have. But in today, the day that we live in with all this information, we're running out of excuses. We're there. There's a lot of people, and this book brings 21 different people with experience, different life situations. We have a spousal situations, and we've got two gentlemen that wrote a chapter each. Also, they're caregivers for their wives. We have the parent situation, parent to child. We have then the taking care of your parents. Then we have a lady who is not related to any of them. She's a live-in carer, and she goes and stays for certain amounts of time with different people. So you've got all different situations, but the thing that boils it all down is that we need to all understand they're not giving us a hard time. It seems like it. It feels like it sometimes, but the reality is they're having a hard time. They can't hear all your words. They don't understand what you're wanting them to do. They're struggling first to figure out who you are and then what you're wanting them to do, and a whole host of other things going on trying to process through their brain. They are struggling. So when they act out, a lot of times what I've discovered through knowledge, through learning, is that I caused some of that, and I didn't even know it. Because I had no idea. When you first get dementia, you lose your peripheral vision. And it's like you're wearing ski goggles. So then when I walk up next to someone beside them and touch their arm or something, I'm startling them. I am causing them to be upset. So now, through my training, I learned, approach them from the front, go slowly, pause, wait until they see you. Oftentimes that means kneeling down to get in their line of vision. And wait until they see you before then you go ahead and speak to them. And that's a challenge for me because I'm one of those, let's get it done, go fast in a hurry. And that is exactly the wrong way to be if you're dealing with someone who has dementia. So it was a struggle for me as well as them because I had to adapt my behavior. But the thing is, I can control my behavior. They can't control theirs. So we as caregivers have to make the adjustments because they can't.
Oh, that is so true. When Matt started to hallucinate, and I just think the hallucinations are just so different for everyone. Matt would see his deceased mom, dad, and brother. He would always see men in the house. He had a thing with men. They had big heads that caused him anxiety, and he feared for my safety. So Josh and I became great improv actors and throwing people out of the house.
Yeah. There you go.
We would
Perfect.
We would throw him out, and he had to be reassured that he was safe. And he actually thought the people were hitting him in the head. It is just so bizarre. But when he would say his mom, dad, or his brother came to see him, I said, they did. How are they, Matt? Did you have a good visit? You know, of course I wasn't going to say, oh, no, that can't be, they're dead. But I learned that, Debbie, through education of being in support groups, because even, I'm going to say 5 years ago, there still wasn't a lot of information. And, folks, I'm a Jersey girl, and I serve it straight up. So I'm going to be very blunt here. To not educate yourself is really foolish. There's no excuse whatsoever. Don't say you don't have the time, because you do. You make time for what's important instead of binge watching Netflix or whatever you watch. Binge on educating yourself, because it's unbelievable how people aren't educated. I know someone whose husband possibly has some kind of dementia, hasn't been formally diagnosed, and she called me. She goes, "You wouldn't believe what my husband did to me." And I'm like, okay, what did he do? He didn't do that to you. He's doing it because his brain is not working correctly. He's not doing it out of spite. He's not doing it to hurt you. And I think, Debbie, that a lot of caregivers don't know, get out of your own way. It's not about you. See, I'm a Jersey girl.
Exactly. I love it. You're right, though. You are right on target. And that's exactly what I see. As I talk to people, I'm just amazed because, you know, you have a mother taking care of her mother-in-law, and then she's saying, she just does all these things to make me mad. She knows I don't like that. And I have to explain, she doesn't know anymore. She might have known once. She's lost that. She doesn't know. And the brain doesn't function normally anymore. If you have dementia, 2 parts of your brain are actively dying, not just shrinking like we used to say, because it makes it sound better. It's not true. They're dying. You can't build back those memories. You cannot teach a person with dementia new things. Those, unless that section of the brain hasn't been affected yet, which is very rare because it starts with the memory, and that's what we see first is hitting the memory. But it includes so much more than the memory and its function, its ability to button and unbutton shirts and fasten. It's all sorts of things that are affected by it. But if you just spend a little bit of time, like listening to your show, listening to other shows that are out there too, reading the books. That's why we put those books out there, to help educate caregivers so that you can have an easier time, because it doesn't just benefit the caregiver, it also benefits the care recipient, and it benefits the entire family. Yeah.
So,
caregiving affects us all.
Yes, that is so true. And back when I was in support groups, I remember this one lady saying, "Oh, my mom poops in her pants. Why does she do that? I don't understand why she does that. Why doesn't she just go to the bathroom?" And she was not educated. And there is a lot of support groups, unfortunately, that don't allow people to educate their members. And it's unfortunate. In my group, #Kick Alzheimer's Ass movement, I have people, I'll post your podcast. I will post about your conference, your book, because I want people to be educated, because I know how important it is.
That's
very
what I love,
important
too. I absolutely love that, because I was in a bunch of Facebook groups that were supposedly caregiver support groups, and I was telling people helpful information and trying to help. But then when I would refer them to my book or to my website, because I have a blog on my website, and then I have an email list that I send out an email once a week educating caregivers, telling them about all the different aspects and stuff. And they were saying, and some of the moderators said, no, you can't do that. You can't refer them to resources. And I'm like, well, then how are they going to get help? Because I didn't just refer my own. There are lots of others. Yeah, just moral support? No, you need actionable useful information. And that's what I told each of these authors when I gathered them up for the book, is I want you to first tell just a little about your story or how it pertains to the topic that you're going to be talking about. And then I want you to give action steps, things, tools, strategies, whatever it is that caregivers can use right now, that they don't have to go out and buy something else. You tell them how they can improve their life right now. And I am so proud to say that all 20 of them did exactly that. And they give you tools and strategies and tips. We even had a doctor who pre-read the book, and she wrote in and she said, oh, my goodness, I learned a lot of things. And she's going to put a copy of the book in her waiting room because she said caregivers need this information. They've got to read this, and this is a fantastic book. So that made me feel so good. I was like, yes, we did it.
Yes. That's funny you said that, Deb, because I was thinking doctors should have this book in their office. They should, when someone's diagnosed, they should say, okay, here's a book I recommend. I had this in my office. You can order it. Go to your local bookstore and say we'll order it for you, and get it. Because I don't know if it has changed, but back in the day, you're just given a diagnosis, and that was it. You weren't guided to any resources. Oh, that's so
Sadly,
unfortunate. In
the
this
majority
day and
of the people, it is. Now, there are doctors that are exceptional, and but they're the rare exception, because I talk to people every day that just are handed a diagnosis and told that it's fatal. And sometimes they'll say, we'll go check out alz.org, which is a great website, but you need more. And so, yeah, I wish too. I'm going to make a concerted effort to reach more and more doctors with the book so that they can at least make people aware that help is available and that this can help you out. And, excuse me, in the back of the book, I included a resource chapter because it occurred to me, and I'm a Christian, and so I prayed about every ounce of this book from beginning to end, and who to include and who should write about what and which chapter should go first and the whole deal. And so in every chapter, every author of that chapter gives their contact information and their website if they have one. And so you can reach out to that person directly for more help and more information. And then in the very back of it, I had all the authors. I said, look, guys, we all know resources, and we probably don't all use the same resources. So send me all your resource information. And I compiled them all together in a resource chapter in the back of the book. That in itself is worth more than the price of the book. And I would be happy to tell you, Miss Betsy, that you are also included in the resource chapter because you are a fantastic resource for caregivers. But we have podcasts, we have doctors, we've got elder law attorneys, we've got financial experts, we've got all sorts of things covering all different aspects, and safety. Kathleen Gordon talks about when it's time to stop your senior from driving, and she tells a true story about her dad crashing into the apartment complex and backing into a car and just all sorts of stuff. So, I mean, it's just whatever you're facing, there's something in this book for you.
That sounds amazing. How did you decide who to have as authors in your book? Because there's so many different people out there to choose from.
I know. I had to pray.
That had to be difficult. Yes, that had to be really difficult.
It was. I prayed a lot about it, that God would bring me the right people for the right topics. And I'll say this too. I interviewed a lot more people than I chose to be authors because I wanted people that have a heart for caregivers. I didn't want people who wanted to write a chapter so they could promote their business. And so it wasn't for everyone. And then some others, they were into different modalities that don't necessarily agree with my faith. And so I didn't want to put that in there either. And so it just, God, all glory to God, because he brought it together. He brought me the right people the right topics, because several of us we do the same thing. We're consultants. Kim Kasaya out in Oregon was also trained by Teepa Snow, and she's got more training than me. She went on to she's like a master coach and trainer and stuff. She's fantastic. And the state of Oregon loves her. She works directly with them. But we do a lot of the same things. And so what Kim and I talked about, we decided to wait until the last and let everybody else write about their passion project, the thing that they're most passionate about. And then we would fill in the blanks and write about what else, because I knew a lot of different topics that I wanted to make sure were covered in the book. And so that's what we did, because what I started to say, Kim and I are not competitors. I don't have any competitors. You don't have any competitors, which is why I love that you post other podcasts and stuff in the CAM Facebook page and everything too, because you also understand and you get it. There are so many people hurting. There are so many people with dementia. 1 in 3 get dementia today. There are more people than we can help. So we're not competitors. We are collaborators. We work together to support these people, because some folks may relate to me better. Some may relate to Kim better. Some may relate to Rena better. And that's great. That is fine. You go where you can be served. We just want you to be helped. And every single person who wrote a chapter, that is their heart. They want to help caregivers. And that's what I'm so proud of. They're wonderful people.
I love it. I love that's so true and I think, Debbie, that one of the reasons why a lot of administrators don't allow people to give out their resources to help people is I think they're either intimidated or they think they're trying to protect their members from being scammed. But you can always check people out and see that they're legitimate, or that they're threatened by people. You know what, folks, I might have trouble with insecurities of different things, but having people who educate others in my group is not one of them. I want people to be educated, and you know what? I don't have all the answers. You're right, Debbie. Like, I could say something, you could say something. Someone might benefit from what you said better than hearing it from me, and vice versa. Let's work together. It's like not a competition.
Exactly.
Same thing when people, compare their journeys. Oh, I shouldn't complain because other people have it worse. It's not a competition, folks. No one wins in that competition of who has it worse.
No one wins.
That's for sure. If that's a problem to you, it's a problem, and that's I just love that. Working together, and I really would love to see more people collaborate and support. And I believe, Debbie, you reached out to me about this book to write a chapter, but I'm not a writer.
I did, and you wouldn't do it.
That's because I can't write. I have enough trouble writing information for the show. I do a blog with Dr. George Ackerman, and I have enough trouble with that. I said, I'm not a writer. I'm a talker, and I might even have trouble with that sometimes.
Well, you know what?
But
we all have our callings, and I don't do a podcast. I don't mind being on podcasts. I love doing that, but I don't run one. That is where your talent lies. So, I mean, it takes all of us working together and just supporting one another in whatever we do. And I was going to tell you too, the reason I chose to write about burnout was because it's so prevalent, and people don't even realize when you're experiencing it. And what that is when you've hit the end of your rope. Basically, you're exhausted mentally, physically, and emotionally, spiritually. Even you can be exhausted, and you feel like you just can't go on, and everything is doom and gloom. You're depressed. You just don't know where to turn for help. You feel like there's no end in sight. That's severe depression that just overtakes you. And we have to learn ways to handle that and to take care of it. And so that's why I teach people in my chapter ways that you can reduce your stress that don't cost you anything. You don't have to buy anything. You can do it all on your own, but you can actually, scientifically proven, lower your stress levels, lower your heart rate, lower your anxiety, lower your blood pressure, just by using these relaxation techniques and these things that help to calm the mind. Because when you're stressed out and your body is tight and you're all tensed up, your brain is also tight, and you don't have the flow of oxygen is restricted in your brain. So it's hard for you to come up with creative solutions to these problems you're facing. But if you take a little bit of time to relax and to unwind, then you can come up with creative solutions. Then it's better for everyone. Then your response is not going to be so negative and so harsh. So that's why I chose to write about caregiver burnout, because I wanted to make sure that was really addressed. Yeah, because it hit me so hard.
Yeah, that's so important. And Debbie, I know that you're aware of this, the mortality rate of caregivers, especially ones that are in their 70s and 80s taking care of a spouse, is high. Even suicide rates are high. And because of burnout, and folks, I really want to stress, it's not a weakness to get support. It's not a weakness to get counseling. I got counseling through Matt's mid-journey. I have counseling now dealing with caregiver post-traumatic. It's a real thing, and you need support. You can't do this alone. You need support, and sometimes you might need mental health support. It's nothing to be ashamed of. I know there's stigma around it, especially if you're my age, but let go of the stigma. Don't worry about what people think.
Exactly.
You go for the help that you need and the support, because it is definitely, I know I had it, and I'm just excited about this book. But I was honored that you asked me, Debbie. I was very flattered to write a chapter. But I
it would have been
wouldn't
good,
know what to
whether
write
you believe it or not.
But this book sounds so awesome. Well, thank you. This book is awesome, and I'll tell you what. I said, Teepa Snow. I used to watch her videos. Once I found out who she was, watched her videos, and I'll tell you, I educated myself about something. Mac could not see what was in front of him. And I would get frustrated because he would go, "Where's my water bottle?" Or he would sit on top of clothes that I just folded. And I go, "Why are you sitting on clothes? Don't you see them?" And so when I watched her video and she explained about the vision, I went, "That's why." Now I could stop yelling at him because he can't see.
Yes.
And that really, and folks, there's no perfect caregiver. Believe me, I was far from perfect. And I learned. So that's why I'm saying, folks, I know and I'm very honest with you all. Listening to that made a difference. I even told the eye doctors about Teepa Snow and about the vision, because I don't even think they knew.
They don't. So many people don't know. I had never heard it until I went through my training with Teepa. And she's fantastic because she thoroughly explains it in ways that we can understand, and it makes so much sense, and then you get a better response. And I'm just like you. I was nowhere near a perfect caregiver, but I did my best. And I'm honest with people about the mistakes that I made. And I like to feel like I'm more of a coach. I'm more of if you're a caregiver and you're like, "Oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. I'm experiencing this behavior and I can't figure out what to do," call me. Set up a call with me, and I love Zoom, because on Zoom I can talk to you. It doesn't matter what country you're in even. We can talk on Zoom and we can see each other face to face, and then I can help you through it and help you find solutions, help you find the resources that you need. I had one lady tell me, she lived in Denver, huge city, right? Denver, and she's telling me there's no support groups here. Well, honey, yes, there are, And so I looked them all up and looked up her address, and I emailed them all to her. So it doesn't matter what kind of support you need. I'm here for you. And I had one lady at the very beginning of her journey, and she says, I just don't know how I'm going to handle this, because I'm having to go over and check on mom and dad almost every single day now. I have to stop in and check on them. And I was thinking, oh, sweetheart, You got a long way to go. That's the very beginning. You're at the very beginning. But that comes in with understanding, because then I was able to tell her these things are going to be happening. You need to prepare for this next. This is what's going to come next. You need to prepare for it now, because if you prepare in advance, you can be ready for it. A good example of that, I didn't know that, with Alzheimer's, you can have drastic mood swings and you can have emotional issues and all that, and which my mother-in-law had full blown. She was a sweet, precious, kind little lady, and all of a sudden she's cussing like a sailor. She's throwing things at me. Well, if I would have known that was coming, I could have changed from using actual glasses to using plastic glasses. Something simple like that is what I'm able to tell people, is that, okay, you probably want to change this out. And it sounds minor, but then when you're living it, it's a big deal.
Yeah, that's so.
It makes a big difference.
Yes, that is true. Like putting their food on a red dish, even cutting down, or changing their routine. Like I couldn't do everything for Matt. I couldn't shave him, brush his teeth, and shower him all at once. I had to break it down into steps. And certain times of the day, the morning, were better to do that than at night as he progressed.
Yes. And people don't realize, if you have an all-white bathroom and they're using the restroom on the floor, well, maybe it's because they can't see the toilet. Maybe you need a colored ring toilet, or you need to paint the floor or put a rug around it. So there's so many little tips and little things that you learn, and there's way too much to include everything in one book. It's just, that was a challenge as well, because it's like, okay, I want to tell you all the things, and it's like you don't have the space, and nobody would be able to read it all. Too much. But you can call and you can talk and I can tell you what's next. And before I forget too, I want to tell you I have a freebie for your audience, because you're so precious. So I have to give them something, and it's 10 ways to reduce your stress. And so I think you'll put the link down below. Yes. And so, but it'll give them 10 specific things that they can do to reduce their stress. And don't think that that's the 10 things that I put in my chapter, because it's not. They're different. There's a lot more. I got to look that one up myself. 10 ways to reduce stress. And, I'm still a caregiver, but it's not stressful caregiving. But I could use that. And I love freebie, so I'll take advantage of that myself. Debbie, you are such a pleasure to talk to. I just love talking to you. Your passion shines through. You're just wonderful. Now, can people pre-order this book prior to July 2nd?
Yes, but I think when this comes out, it's already going to be live, right? Because this is going to come out towards the end of July, so it'll be live.
That's right.
They can order it. They can order it on Amazon, The Caregiver's Advocate, A Complete Guide to Support and Resources. They can also find it on Amazon if they search my name, Debbie DeMoss Compton. That's DeMoss. It's kind of an odd. And I do that, and you know this, but I do that because there's another lady named Debbie Compton, which is what I go by all the time, but DeMoss is my maiden name. I had to throw that in there because this other lady writes about the spine, and I don't know anything about the spine, and then don't hurt it. You know, you need to take care of it. But so it'll be live, and it will also be, if they want a signed copy, go to my website, thepurplevine.com, and you can order the book there on my website, and I'll sign it for you and send it out to you.
Thank you, Debbie. And, folks, I'm telling you, all the information about Debbie will be in the blog that Jeannie White, the station manager, writes. Go on Debbie's website, thepurplevine.com. That's what it is, right, Debbie? Yeah, thepurplevine.com.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Go on that website because Debbie offers so much, and go on the author's page on Amazon because Debbie has a lot of books. They're very helpful, coloring books, and it's important. It's so important. Caregiver Burnout. I mean, Debbie and I could probably do a seminar on it, really, of how real it is.
Yes.
how important it is to prevent that. And folks, I'm telling you, you have to take care of yourself as a caregiver. Self-care is not selfish. It's a matter of your life and your death. Seriously.
Amen.
And
yes.
When I look back, Debbie, at the stress that I was in, because I was working and caregiving, and thankfully I had Josh helping me, and it was only Josh and I thank God for his strength and grace that it got me through, and that at the age of 66 and a half, I got through caregiving with some minor issues. And I got to give God the glory because it wasn't me. There were days I didn't think I could put one foot in front of the other.
Absolutely.
Really.
Absolutely. That's what I tell people. It's just, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay.
I tell them I don't know how you survive caregiving without God, because Scripture comes back to mind when you need it the most. And, I mean, I was scrubbing the bathroom floor, crying my eyes out, because it was the third time that day that I'd been scrubbing the bathroom floor. And I was remembering, great is thy faithfulness, thy mercies are new every morning. And then I was remembering, greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. And I remembered, I can do all things, even scrub this bathroom floor for the third time, through Christ who gives me strength. You know, I make it real. You make it real to your situation, and then you have the strength, the encouragement, and the power you need to continue on. So with God, you can do it. All things are possible.
Absolutely. I think of the verse of, can't remember exactly, the wings of eagles.
Yes, they shall mount up as wings on eagles.
Yes. Well, let me tell you, folks, that, because, when you have your own chronic problems, and I couldn't rest properly, it is a miracle. So I just thank God that I'm grateful. And, people might ask, well, how can you be happy? How can you be grateful? You lost your husband. But I am, because God used Matt to reach many people, to help many people. I'm here today doing what I'm doing because of Matt. Here's my panelist.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yes, and always will be. And, I believe that this is where I'm supposed to be. And God called me to service. And that's what I'm doing. But thank you.
I think your mess becomes your message.
Yes.
You get through it. You go through it for a reason. You get through it for a reason. And with the 3 different situations of my parents and everything that I went through, it's so that I can help others, because I can understand when you're dealing with all these different situations and scenarios. And that's why God has called me to this. That's why I do what I do. So thank you so much for having me on, too, Betsy. I truly appreciate it, and I hope folks will go out and grab a copy of the new book. Hopefully it's a bestseller already. That'd be awesome.
That would, you know what, I definitely could see it becoming a bestseller. And I'm going to put the picture, if you don't mind, the cover of the book in my support group. But I'll wait till July 2nd.
Great.
Because that is a book.
It's not live yet, but
I'll put it in my group, and I'll post it on my own personal page.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This book. You're welcome. Because, folks, when I believe in something, I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about the audience, caregivers, and young people are being caregivers. This book is for anyone who is a caregiver. And even if you're not a caregiver, chances are you're going to be. Get the book. I'm telling you, get the book. Because you will find yourself, as a caregiver. My son, Josh, was a caregiver. He helped with his grandma at the age of 15 or 16, and he was 26 when his dad was diagnosed. So this book is for, I would say, a high schooler, would you say, Debbie, who maybe is a caregiver all the way up?
Absolutely, because caregivers they're young today too. They're all ages of caregiving, because the number one risk factor of developing Alzheimer's is old age, and we're living longer. And the baby boomers are all aging. We're the largest generation. And so the need for caregiving is growing exponentially year over year. And so people are going to be becoming caregivers that never planned on it, because who plans on it? None of us do.
Right.
It just happens. So how wonderful will it be for this next generation if they're actually prepared, if they actually know something about what they're doing, instead of just being thrown in the deep end like we were. So I think it's a fantastic way for them to help themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll tell you, give it to someone as a gift. Buy it for yourself.
Yes.
Give it as a gift if you know a caregiver. And really, folks, it's the reality. If 1 in 3 people are being diagnosed as with some kind of dementia, then that this book is, let me tell you, sorely needed, desperately needed. I was in a drugstore picking up a prescription, and this woman sounded like she had dementia, and I looked at the couple and I said hello, and the husband's like, oh, she has Alzheimer's. That's okay, I understand. And I got to talking to this gentleman. He has no resources. He has no help. He's in his 80s. And I gave him my number, and I said, call me. I can help you with resources in this area. So I can't thank you. Can't thank you enough, Debbie Compton, for coming on, getting this book together, and for all the authors who wrote it. If you hear this show, thank you. Thank you for helping caregivers. Thank you for all that you do, Debbie, in helping caregivers. And I really want to tell the audience, go on, again, Debbie's website. She is a wealth of information, a wonderful resource, and you would just love her books, too. That's what I have to say.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. You're so kind. Oh, I love it.
Thank you. Well, you are welcome. And, folks, as I wrap up here, I mentioned in the beginning, it is free to subscribe to Chatting with Betsy. Please tell your friends. I want to help as many people as possible, and I need to recruit you for your help. So I am on Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, Apple, just to name a few. If you know a caregiver, please tell them about my show. Tell them about my group, hashtag Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement. Everyone's welcome. It's on Facebook. Look it up. That will be, usually the link is in the blog. And I want to thank William Caldwell, CEO of Passion World Talk Radio, who makes this all possible. And thank you for listening, sharing if you do that. I appreciate it. And you are honoring Matt's memory by doing that and helping people. And that's what I'm here for. So thank you if you are sharing and listening. I appreciate it. And I'm sure people, your friends, will also appreciate it. And as I always say at the end of my show, folks, in a world where you can be anything, please be kind, shine your light bright, because we need it now more than ever. And if you want to follow me, Betsy E. Wurzel, W-U-R-Z-E-L on Facebook. And that's what I have to say today. Be safe. This is Betsy Wurzel. You're a host of Chatting with Betsy on Passion World Talk Radio Network, a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Bye-bye now.